Hello, I'm Suzanne Ellingham. I'm the event director for Source Fashion, and welcome to some very special editions of Honest Not Perfect that we're filming on site. Some of our amazing visitors, speakers, and anyone else we can drag in. But today, or right now, I'm joined with Joe Mountain, who's the sustainability manager at M Brown. Firstly, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm super curious. Joe's working on a really wide range of projects. And hopefully we're going to share a little bit about how he's working on that, some of the hurdles, but also a really interesting project that you're working on locally as well. So Joe, first question, what on earth made you go into sustainability?
Do you know what? I think
easy one.
I came out of school and I just had no idea what I wanted to do. Totally lost, average results, no real purpose. Knew I wanted to go traveling, that was about it. And I think actually, as stereotypical as it was, going traveling really made me appreciate the world a lot more, and nature and culture, and how important crafts are in different regions, and learning about different philosophies of life and whatnot. So I came back with a totally different perspective. And I'd always loved fashion. Everyone loves fashion. That's nothing new. I think I saw something that I was interested in, but then I saw there was a bit of a gap. I was like, I'm seeing all these issues around textile waste and the impacts of fashion, and from a social point of view and an environmental. And the social element was definitely being addressed by the time I was sort of going in towards university. But the environment, it didn't really feel like it was authentic. It felt gimmicky. It didn't feel like it was being represented properly. And it was just like a light bulb moment in my head. I was like, oh, there's something I'm interested in, and then there's a niche within it. And I just became obsessed with it. And that was applied all through my university experience. I even had to pivot after university because I'd studied a business management course, a fashion business management course, and to really get in the sort of the weeds with it, I had to be fabric based. I had to be product based. So I ended up doing internships. I was very lucky. I ended up being able to go work abroad. I went and worked in India. And then I started to get sort of graduate roles in as an assistant within fabric development, and was very lucky to work with some amazing brands who were pioneering. And I didn't think I realized at the time how pioneering they were until I left, because I just thought, oh, well, this is my first proper job. This is how the rest of the industry is operating. And you soon find out they're not. So
what was the biggest difference? Was there one point of that which made you think, oh no, they were way ahead of the curve?
I think just the way we were having conversations about product. We were talking about denim, and every element of that process. We were thinking about the dyes that were being introduced. We were thinking about the type of fabric weaves, the washing, the certifications that were getting attached to it. And that was going through all the sign-offs, all the samples that we were making, and we had people abroad who were developing these, real experts in this field. And denim is just one of those product categories that's so unbelievably unique and niche, and actually
hugely impactful on environmental.
Exactly, and we were addressing all the situations from circularity to low impact washing and dyeing, and it was just amazing. It was only after I left where you go to a different company and understand that product development process, and you go, oh, where's the meeting where we talk about sustainability here? It doesn't exist, and then you go, okay, there's a cultural element to this that some brands have and some brands don't.
It must have been an interesting moment in time when you'd obviously moved it, because I think whenever you change businesses, there's an excitement and a development curve, and then you realize, oh, it must have been quite jarring coming from that environment into something a little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's deeply frustrating that people aren't aligned with you, but you have to understand what their ambitions are and what their desires are. A designer's desire is to design an amazing product. A product developer is to make sure the quality is right. The marketing team is making sure it gets sales. And same with merchandise. All those elements. Everyone's got their own priorities, and I think mine was I'm a fabric developer, but I'm obsessed with making it sustainable.
Yeah.
That wasn't the focus of the fabric team. The fabric team was to
just
bring
make
in
the design.
best. Yeah, to complement the design, to get it at the right price, to get it with the right manufacturer who can do the MOQs, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's when I realized I needed to go out of the industry again. And that's when I went to do my master's in textile innovation and really started to understand more about manufacturing and the technicalities of products as well.
Yeah. So you've really, in a short space of time, had a lot of very varied experiences and worn quite a lot of different hats. Which hat has been your favourite? Or the one that you've learnt more from?
Do you know what? I think you learn a lot more from being somewhere that needs a lot of work, because when you've got to do the work yourself, you're starting from the ground up almost. I was very fortunate when I came to M Brown, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a blank canvas.
No.
There was a lot of groundwork and foundational work that had already been done, but it needed to be taken to the next level. And I think being given that opportunity to be like, Joe, you've got these varied experiences, you're young, you kind of get this more than perhaps someone who's always done things a certain way. We need that fresh perspective. And I think that was quite an exciting challenge, knowing actually I had a huge problem ahead of me. I actually quite enjoyed that. And I went in still very naive, thinking right, we're going to put out a sustainability report. We're going to change our whole denim range because I know lots about denim. And
At what point did you realise that wasn't quite going to go quite 2 weeks?
Yeah, I was grounded very quickly. But that is your learning point. That is your learning. I think, like I said, when I was at somewhere that had done all the groundwork, was ahead of the game, it's kind of a privileged position. It didn't feel as exhilarating as it is to be trying to start again.
Yeah.
As well.
And it's harder to start again.
Yeah.
I always think if you do it once, you can do it again. But it's hard doing it again because you know what's coming.
But you know where you need to get to. That was what was exciting. I know where we can take this, but I know we have to do a lot of work in between.
How much can you tell me about what you're working on at the moment in M Brown? Where are you in the sustainability journey?
I think, the industry is really difficult right now. A lot of businesses are struggling. The industry's changed a lot, especially in the last 24 months. We're seeing ultra fast fashion really dominate online sales. We're also seeing vintage just take a 10th of the market share. And that has really hit the UK market. And it's kind of bittersweet. Someone like myself would be excited by the fact consumers are now starting to engage with secondhand clothing. Consumers have sort of brushed aside those narratives around secondhand clothing, but it's just disrupted the whole industry massively. And doing more research into it way beyond than we anticipated. In terms of the textile flows, it's impacting charities, it's impacting the rag trade, and it's impacting how those textiles are then moving into the global south. It's absolutely fascinating. I think
it also makes you realize it's an incredibly complex ecosystem because what you're having is consumers shifting their wallet share to secondhand and pre-loved, not buying new. But actually, the new stuff is what has job creation. It's kind of where people earn their money. It's where businesses...
It's disruption, right? And I think that's what happens when an industry is disrupted. It requires change. And that's how I'm viewing it now, is that we're having to change. I think if you ask me, if I was doing this job 5 years ago, we'd be like, we need to make these decisions because it's the right thing to do. Now we're going, what's the value proposition that this is going to create? Because it has to generate financial capital growth. We can't be thinking of it, it's a nice thing to do. We just can't afford to do it like that. And whilst the old me would be very reluctant to go with that narrative, it's amazing how much or how quick things move when you give it that narrative and you give it that perspective, because you're actually getting more stuff done with a sustainability or circularity agenda, but it's just secondary, it's not primary.
Yeah. But I think that's quite important, because when we talk about why, or when I've spoken to people and trying to understand why, what are the hurdles for sustainable projects not being prioritized? What are the hurdles towards certain things moving forward? And a lot of the time, I think it's a communication between what you want to do and what a board level wants to do and what shareholders want to do. And if you're able to articulate it as value creation and actually speak in their language, so there's no wonder it's going to move forward, because you're telling them this is a long-term gain. This isn't a 6-month profit run. We're going to create a range and we're going to do it this, and it's going to be a nice marketing message. What you're then talking about is actually long-term viability of a business and value creation from the work that you're doing now. And most VCs will understand, when they're all private equity firms, when they buy a business, you've got 3 to 5 year investment span. So you don't look at it as a year or short term. It's a long-term growth.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. I think that's quite a smart way to phrase it. Is there anything, where did you start with that value creation? Where have you seen wins?
I think
or where are you about to see wins?
Yeah, I think, we did a big piece of work last year where we just wanted to understand where all our stakeholders sit. What are they thinking? How do they perceive us as an organization? That's quite daunting, when you're speaking to all the way from your goods for resale suppliers, your board members, even to the charities that you partner with, and then and obviously your customers. And I think is what we identified as a common theme without it was that trust is your value creation. If you can get all your stakeholders to trust in what you're doing and what you believe in, authentically as well, that's really important. Then you can change that narrative of why we're doing something for a certain reason. It's not because that's sustainable. It's because actually it's really benefiting this person in a certain way that brings loyalty or makes the customer really back us and believe in what we're selling them. And that can go from anything from trying to be more sustainable or socially aware, but also to like next day delivery and the quality of the products. That idea of trust can be embedded across the business.
Wow.
And that's actually, it was already kind of in that vision and mission, but it's just sort of confirmed that is actually a really important factor. And how can we measure that or start to get a visual on what that looks like?
I love what you said there. And I think that's the first time I've asked that question and had that answer, because actually understanding your stakeholders' point of view first, I think is such a smart thing to do, and really expanding that out. Was there anything in that first kind of research that surprised you? Is there anything that you thought, oh, that's interesting?
No. I think the reality is with consumers is that there was a big push for sort of more conscious consumption, I think, a couple of years ago. And I think actually there is a serious lack of trust in the world right now, whether that be on a national level, when do we ever trust in government? But, but also, people are being really hit hard, whether that's financially or culturally or religiously. It's a really challenging time around the world. So actually that element of trust is like, well, you're going to lean on people that you trust, right? You want to buy from people because fake news, AI, all these sort of elements that are coming into it. Who can I trust in my close friendship group or my family and all my friends? But who do I want to buy my products off? Who can I trust is giving me good quality product that's ethically sourced, that's at a reasonable, fair price, and I can rely on them. And so for me, that was just like music to my ears. It's like, yes, it's validating everything I already believed.
Yeah. It's such an interesting question around trust. It's one of the reasons. So our theme for this year is analog futures. And part of the reason we did that is because there is this distrust between what people are seeing and what's actually happening. And we live in a digital age and an AI age now where things can be generated, and people genuinely have stopped trusting their eyes in a way and what they see online. Yeah. So actually you do go back to, I know these people, I have a level of trust because it's not just built on an Instagram account or what I'm seeing in a marketing machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think how brands build trust with their consumers in an authentic way, and also almost in an imperfect way, if that makes sense. It's like brands don't get everything right all the time. And actually their ability to communicate authentically on why that maybe hasn't gone to plan, I feel like that's what builds some trust. It's like it's the imperfections in the process.
100%. And actually one of the bits of feedback we got, we're a digital retailer. People want to see you in person as well. They want like real life events, like community events. We're an inclusive retailer. We're passionate about size and fit. Like, how can we communicate that better to the customer and do things in person with them? And yeah, to your point around, what you can trust online, we're seeing a lot of retailers use AI, and don't get me wrong, I think it's a fantastic tool if it's used correctly. And that's something we're seriously having to review in the business is what's our stance on AI? When should it be used? When should it not be? What are the guardrails that you can have around that? Does a human always have to be in control of a situation? Absolutely. In my view, it does anyway. But those kind of questions are really important. But at the same time, you can't be held in the past and not adapting to all this change, because you will get left behind.
No.
It's a really difficult balance to get.
And I think it's one that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Because yes, it's funny you mentioned the phrase guardrails. Because I think within all businesses, we're all going to use AI in different ways. But I think there does need to be some guardrails of when do we cross the line and lose our sense of voice or purpose, or how we connect with people. Yeah. So I think it's always interesting when we start to really delve into that question. Yeah, I think it'll be an AI ethics communication, how companies and brands use it responsibly. I think is going to be something that is fast developing this year.
I was having a funny conversation there where someone was saying like, I want to see spelling mistakes in emails now because I just want to know they wrote it.
But no, it's true. It's like it's people do business with people. They don't necessarily always want to do business with somebody who could be an AI bot. Yeah. And I think customer service is one of those places where you could see that being highly automated. Customers still fundamentally quite like speaking to someone. Absolutely. So I think it's a fine line.
Absolutely.
Okay, back onto a more conventional conversation track, because I could talk about that for an hour. Tell me about some of the projects. So I know that you've spearheaded a few sustainability projects and how important it is to support innovation, even if it's not commercially viable today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had to be realistic at Mbound and go, well, what's fundamentally achievable for us? We have to understand what our USP is, going back to size and fit, and going, okay, what does that mean for us as an organisation, and what do we do first? What can we do first? From a size and fit point of view, we're like, well, that's easy. We can just really talk and hone in on that element of inclusivity for the customer, getting products that make them feel great, for us using them more, caring for them better. Those are really strong elements. We just need to communicate better. I think actually in terms of innovation, in terms of materials, it becomes very challenging. We use a lot of blended products, as you can probably imagine. Absolute nightmare from a recyclability point of view, and also a pure denim head like myself. But is what we actually started with is packaging.
Yeah.
And the reason we started with that is because it's a poly bag. It goes on every single product we send out. We've got scale to put behind it. And, if you can work with a company, a packaging provider who is really trying to get something off the ground, we saw that as an opportunity to go, let's be the ones to scale this and let's be the ones to trial it and just see if it works. And I think that was a really interesting project because we started using the Polymax bag, which was dissolvable. It's a dissolvable bag in hot water or biodegrades extremely quickly in the grand scheme of things in natural environments. No toxic or non-organic matter.
Plastics.
No, absolutely not. It's amazing, amazing material. However, that makes it volatile.
Yeah.
It's a volatile material. So when you go to somewhere like Bangladesh or New Delhi, which is 50 degrees in summer, becomes a very challenging material to use when you're trying to package goods and get them shipped over.
The moisture.
Yeah, the humidity. It would also react in heat as well. So we had to really be understanding and test this material to go, okay, where can we use this? Where can we not? What type of training is needed? What are can the manufacturer store it in a place that's cool enough to keep it warm? So I think, it was never 100% successful trial. We had issues, we had challenges with it. Sometimes it would just dissolve.
Yeah.
But the point of it was we tried it.
Yeah.
And we can then go to the provider and say, here's what worked, here's what didn't. Go away and innovate again. And that's what it is. That's all innovation is. It's just research feedback, that loop. And we need to be able to do that at scale and we can't be responsible to do it for everything, and nor are we going to be responsible for doing it. But, it's really exciting to see some of the brands, the larger brands now actually all sort of not necessarily conform, but come together and collaborate to scale some of these really amazing innovative materials. Because, of course, we want to support them, but it's just the cost and the challenges of the market.
Picking your project to make most impact.
That's it. It's picking and choosing and going, okay, we're going to do this, but we need to lean on you guys to do that. And it's great that we have those forums where we can have those conversations, but obviously we can't just choose and pick out of a hat which one we choose. But, we know we got to do our bit, and we're certainly trying to make sure we do that. I think, how do we now use those learnings and take another project forward? That's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. And actually that leads us on to a nice little point. So new projects. I'm super interested in what you're doing with Manchester City Council. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. So with my other hat on, I run a non-profit outside of my full-time work called Future Fashion Fair. We're CIC. Our vision is to help develop circular ecosystems, one being supporting businesses that already operate and exist in that space and building that side to it up, so like that community element. And then the other side is facilitating the needs for infrastructure. So what's needed, how is it profitable, is it viable, is it necessary, all those kind of questions. And we're working with the GMCA at the moment to do a bit of a fact-finding piece for them as part of that. And out of that will be a sort of a list of recommendations of how we think that region can deliver on that, because we're starting to see it pop up across Europe now as well. We've got Sweden, we've got Belgium, we've got the Netherlands creating these circular clusters. And clustering is really exciting. Even London's starting to develop it. And it's understanding, well, can this region, what is it good at? What is it not so good at? What are the opportunities, but what are the challenges that currently exist there? And go, okay, here's what you can do in this region because you specialise in that. I think India is a really great country, an example of that, where you have the different...
China is also.
Yes, yeah.
And you could argue it's one of the reasons that their manufacturing has really, developed to the point where they can pretty much do anything. And it is that reliance on clusters. It's the manufacturing, the materials. It's all done locally. It's all within a few miles of each other. In Italy as well, Northern Italy do this really well.
Yes.
And I think we used to do it well in the UK. If you think of all of the woolen mills that used to be all together, if you think of the lace makers that all used to be, they're all very local. And you see that even like Northampton with its shoes, it's like you see all of these local skills developments and then they just blossom and bloom. And it's because you've created that collaborative community that can work together.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be exciting to work on to bring on something like that to life.
Well, that's it. And I think Manchester in the Northwest has huge textile heritage. I grew up round the corner from Abraham Moon's, one of the oldest standing vertical mills left in the country. And I think whilst we can lean on heritage, we need to evolve and understand realistically what does the future look like. And going back to the point around textile flows, the UK has an abundance of textiles and we're just shipping it abroad, and there's massive opportunity to do stuff with it and sort it correctly and recycle it. And remanufacturing for me is where UK sits, and that's what it should be focusing on. And I think this project hopefully will scope some of what that could look like. Yeah.
I'm quite excited about remanufacture. I think it could be a source of job creation, skill creation, and also solve quite a lot of problems.
Yes.
As you may be able to hear in the background, we're now competing with our live catwalk show, so hopefully you can still hear us properly. We've got a bit of a music soundtrack in the background. But last question, Joe, and I think this is probably a really open-ended one, but what excites you for the future with what you're doing at the moment? What excites you? What are you looking forward to? What makes it worthwhile?
I think, thinking of M Brown and what we're trying to do there, and the direction the business is taking now, I think the industry has forced us to change. I think what's, like I mentioned at the beginning, what's happening with secondhand, what's happening with textile flows, what's expected to happen with us. We've got some amazing forums and initiatives that all the businesses are all signed up to having these conversations. I think we've been forced to change. So I'm optimistic that change is going to happen. I think in terms of outside the scope of that, I think there's so much opportunity in the UK now for manufacturing and for skills development. And I think we just need to get it together and make it happen. That's
I love that.
I want.
Like, get it together. But it is true, there is so much opportunity in the UK and so many organisations that a little bit of collaboration would really move things forward a lot faster. And who knows what the future holds.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much, Joe. I've loved speaking to you. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future as well.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.